What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Bourbon and Bullshit podcast with some good friends, great drinks, and a little bit of BS. So grab a seat, pour up something neat, and welcome to the show. All right. Hey, everyone. Today we are here. This is a pretty interesting show because I was just in the city not so long ago. So I probably could have met these two gentlemen in real life. But we are here recording with the two gentlemen from Spirit of Spirits. I'll let you gentlemen introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Alby from Spirit for Spirits. I'm the host, co-creator. We have an awesome show for you, the best bartending battle show around.
That's right.
So thanks for finding us. And to my left,
I'm Dave from Spirit for Spirits. I'm the other guy. I do all the behind the camera stuff. I do the editing, post-production work, but also, co-creator. And the two of us have put together what we feel is a pretty special, unique product.
I would say interesting, fun, special, and different even.
It's actually well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
I was saying, like, if only you put that on a shirt somewhere and give us a link to the shop.
Very soon.
Very soon. So excited to get with you guys. What your show is really unique, so I can't wait to get into it. I do always open the show with this drink of the day. Recently, Easter passed, so I did feature a cocktail that I made. And I was all the way extra. This is not one of those like just casual, just toss equal parts in something. My drink of the day today is a carrot cake old fashioned. So I made a simple syrup that I'll put in the show notes. I will use real carrots, brown sugar, equal parts water, freshly ground ginger, the cinnamon, and a little bit of other details that I'll put in the notes. Use that simple syrup, let that cool, obviously keep overnight. We'll put those instructions. Use that. I was like going with rye because I like that spicy notes and a little bit of a hint of cinnamon. So use that. 2 dashes of black walnuts bitters, just 1 little dash of Ango to set it up a little bit, and that's it. Just have some fun with it. Garnish with a carrot peel. But if you want to be all the way bougie, you can make a foam that will be infused with cream cheese frosting-ish. So I'll put those in the notes as well. But it was a pain in the ass to make, and I would never make that ever again.
But try it at home. Have one for yourself.
The foam is the pain in the ass. Everything else is great. So if you're equipped to make a cold foam and you're committed to it, great. But that's the biggest pain in the ass, unless you have like a hand mixer, and I have a KitchenAid stand mixer. Not great for making foam.
no. But you can, there's lots of little hints and tricks to get that done more readily as well. But that's another conversation, I think, for another time.
Yeah, we actually have a whole series on. It lives on Instagram and also on YouTube Shorts, and it's called Behind the Stick, where we give people an opportunity. We welcome them here into Albert's home bar, and teach you everything you need to know to set up your home bar and to, mix and create behind your home bar, all from his home bar. So, if anybody is interested in finding out how to make those foams and syrups and all the other great stuff, check out Spirit for Spirits on Instagram and follow the Behind the Stick journey.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into a foam yet, but
it's on the list.
It's on my list.
I do love that because there are a lot of people out there that are easily intimidated by the process of making things. And I'm an amateur. I am not a bartender by trade. I'm just a guy who drinks a lot and happens to have a lot of friends in the industry, like a metric fuck ton of friends in the industry. So I always end up getting to bounce ideas off their heads. My crazy creations, they give me guidance. They even offered me a device to actually make foam compressed at home. And they're like, you can borrow one. It's like, I'm not taking a $300 item and possibly breaking it because I'm a dumbass. I just want to be that honest with you.
You're better. You're so funny, man. That was like you were like you were thinking about breaking it and still returning it, and I was thinking about keeping it forever. It's like, oh, you let me borrow it. Now it just lives here, like sweatshirts to girlfriends in college. Like,
You know how many pieces of clothing I've lost in a it's cold out, I'll give it back later.
Yeah, exactly. I was just making this one foam, and now I'm like the foam guy in the neighborhood. I just put foam on everything.
Suddenly I have a YouTube series of just like foam with Arthur.
Welcome to Johnny Foams.
Johnny Foams. See, guys from the courtesy, like, hey, I saw your YouTube. This is week 6. Can I have it back?
May I please?
Yeah. No, but
Very
the guys
cool.
are the guys and gals at all those establishments are super generous with their like support and everything. So, as just a casual drinker, I'm just gonna say a semi-pro drinker and a casual bartender, I guess. They always want to help me out, come up with these crazy concoctions, and some of them are different. So, I like to share with the fans.
Yeah,
So-
man, I think that speaks to the business of hospitality, right? Just like find people who like what you do and, and how do we do more cool stuff together? That's the name of the game. So, like, Dave, when was the last time you set foot behind a bar to actually work it?
Probably 15 years ago.
Yeah, maybe.
At least 15, maybe almost 20 years ago was the last time I was actually behind a bar. Yeah, like I did, I did a few years. I worked in New Jersey. I worked in Manhattan for a little while. So I have some experience. So it's like it's useful sometimes when we're doing a lot of the stuff that we're doing, because I do have a familiarity with where we're at. It's not like I'm lost anywhere behind the bar. However, it's always impressive to me how really in depth we can go, and how, like, when I was behind the bar, I was just shots and beers. It's like you may make a mixed drink from time to time, but it was very much just like me following a recipe. So to go from that to seeing the way that Albert puts together the things that he puts together, the way that he gets this inspiration from a distillery and then brings it all the way through to the finished product is always very impressive to me.
Bartenders in general, I think the creative side is underappreciated, right? They from the outside looking in, it's part of the reason why we do this show is to talk to bartenders, to talk to people in the service industry. And like, you're an artist in your own right. We did an interview with his master distiller, Lance Winters from St. George Distillery. He says,
Cool.
I can't draw, I can't dance, I can't sing, but I can make you a really fucking good whiskey. And that's the same could be said about bartenders. Like, you are the bearer of secrets, good times, bad times, and creative all the way through. Like, so I respect that. Everything you guys do.
Yeah. And yeah, the St. George's folks, man, I remember falling in love with the spiced pear liqueur. It was one of the coolest things I ever came across, maybe 15 years ago, St. George's spiced pear.
Yeah.
I was just like, what is this? Delightful. Oh my goodness. What a cool thing. Yeah. They're super, they have super cool products.
They recently released a whiskey. It's a single malt whiskey called Baller. And we got to hear that story about what inspired it. And it was a ramen shop. So definitely a fun story from him. But I want to hear more about you guys and everything that you've done. You said you've been in bartending for some time, but how'd you get started? Like, what? I know we are here at Spirits for Spirits, but how did you start into the industry? What guided you here, and what put you in a position where you wanted to start this fun YouTube channel?
Yeah,
And
man.
IG.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us and thanks for asking.
Of course.
I think this journey for me in restaurants started when I was like 12 or 13. I always say that the Little League brought us together. When I was growing up, I played a lot of baseball in Little League, and one of the kids I played with, his parents owned a restaurant. So while we're all on the field, all the parents were cahooting about our summer jobs and what we would do. And sure enough, all of us ended up working together for Anthony's dad. And we all ended up working at the Sand Dollar and, bussing tables, washing dishes. And before you know it, that just like became the summer gig for me. And I worked in restaurants and I learned how to cook and I learned how to clean and I learned the importance of a day's work and all these things. And before you know it, like, well, I do all these pieces. Let me learn the next thing. So I started serving tables in some Mexican place when I was like 20. And one day I'm, waiting tables and the phone rings for the restaurant because we didn't have cell phones yet. This is pre-cell phone era.
Way back when.
Yeah, the actual restaurant phone rang and I picked it up, and the girl who was supposed to bartend that day was calling out. She was in like a little fender bender, nothing big. She wasn't injured or anything, just freaking out that she had dinged up Daddy's Beamer. So so the manager was like, "Oh, okay, hold on." Like, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll see you tomorrow. He hangs up the phone and says, "Albie, get behind the bar." And that was my first bar shift. Literally thrown to the wolves on my very first shift. Of course, later on, I got to actually train that up in that place. And it was a Mexican restaurant. So I learned an awful lot about tequila and went through all kinds of like very corporate classes. And then I have a theater arts degree. I went back to school and finished a theater degree, did a couple different national tours of Shakespeare, and I wasn't in the business for about 2 years as I was working on the road. But I guess through all of that, in between and getting auditions ready and that sort of stuff, I always picked up bar gigs and bartended here, bartended there, and worked in a pub and worked in another Mexican place and worked at an Applebee's while I was in school and like whatever these things were, like all these different places. And you start to pick up, not only what's good but also what's bad. And then I had come back from one of my national tours and I got a job at a Japanese lounge in Manhattan. And their cocktail program was just a bit more. And there was a lot of things that I didn't know. And it was like, oh, I have to do some freaking homework if I want to work here. And that really started this other journey for me about studying and looking at things and trying to figure out where stuff came from. And then as I got through that, I eventually ended up working at an Ian Schrager property. Ian Schrager had done Studio 54 many, many moons ago, and got into hoteling before his late unpleasantness, and then had created the movement that started boutique hoteling in the world. And I worked in this boutique hotel that was like super dark and fancy and ran this really great cocktail program. Some really great names had been behind that too, which was really cool. And I got into there and realized I still needed to study every day. And I just started diving into spirits. And that launched me into this whole other world about flavor profiles and how it just like lit me up, man. It just lit me up into like all these other things and being able to be like, wow, I can manipulate this into that. And I see how this cocktail build works. And I bet if I take it out of balance, I can replace this with that and like do all these other things that I didn't know I was going to be able to do based on flavor profiles and how some other inspiration can just start the movement for me. And I just became this really cool passion. We started teaching some cocktail classes there and that turned into this other thing. And then I said one day, wow, this would be really cool if we did it as a show. I really like being involved in these competitions and like all these other things. And I said to this guy, I said, hey, I have this idea. I wrote a script.
He goes,
I wrote
why is there no bartender battle show? And I was like, and he's like, he's like, so there's all these cooking shows, but why is there no? Because now, remind you, this is 2018. We're talking.
Yeah.
So he comes to me in 2018 and he's like, why is there no bartender battle show? And I was like, great question. I was like, why don't we make a bartender battle show? So up until that time, my side of the story is that in about 2012, 2013 is when I started working with the camera, working with computer software, editing, all that good stuff, special effects. I just kind of fell in love with it. I ended up making a music video for someone. Well, no, the first video I ever made was actually for Albert when he was working at the Royalton Hotel.
Yeah, working at Royalton.
So they had this tradition where they would every time a new hotel in the chain opened up, the existing hotels would make a welcome video, and it like basically was you would either you'd like rewrite the words to a popular song, and then everybody who worked at the hotel would do a video, like a little music video, and they would say, welcome to the hotel chain,
welcome to the family,
blah blah blah. Right.
Yeah.
So Albert goes and he does this entire I was at that time, he and we had worked in, we had been in bands together for many years. We'd done a lot of musical stuff. So I had done a lot of musical audio engineering, recording, that type of thing. So Albert comes to me and he's like, hey, I have this silly project for the hotel. Can you make this song for me? So he rewrote the lyrics to Sexy and I Know It by LMFAO.
That is hilarious. I was dying to find out which song.
So it was Sexy. Yeah, we'll send you a link to the video.
Please
I think
do.
it's still on YouTube.
I'm going to probably put it in the show clips.
Yeah. So he rewrites the lyrics. I come to his apartment and I record the song with him. Okay, mix the song for him. Okay, here you go. Here's Sexy and I Know It, your version for the hotel. Go have fun doing this silly little project that you're doing. He goes and he films a whole bunch of footage at the hotel with a friend of his who was in film. He was in New York
Film Academy at the time.
Right. Yeah. And so they film all this stuff, and then he gets home and he goes to load all the footage onto his computer to edit, and the files got corrupted. Yeah. So all this whole day of shooting, they lost everything. So Albert comes back. I think it was when I was living here, as a matter of fact, or not here, but in the other apartment. And he comes home and he's like defeated. And I was like, what's wrong? And he's like, well, we lost all the footage and this thing is due in like 2 days.
Yeah, the hotel's going to open. They're having their opening.
I don't know how we're going to get this thing done. I'm responsible for this hotel video, and now I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, well, I have a camera. Let's go do a video. So he's like, I don't know. I was like, well, what choice do you have? Okay, let's go. So we go to the hotel. Albert, myself, and one girl who worked there. We went all over the hotel, filming everywhere we could possibly think of to film. We're in the kitchen. We're in the bath. We're in the
hot tub.
The bathtub, right? Like everywhere we could. He's in the gym doing his thing.
Yeah, really funny.
He's lip syncing this silly song. So I film this thing and then I go home and I spend like the next 24 straight hours just editing this video, just putting it together. I had rudimentary experience from, just playing with the program previously. So I pieced together this video and it came out super fun. Like it was super fun. It's not high quality by any means, but it's really, really fun.
It's really fun.
And so I kind of was like, wow, this is really great. Like I enjoyed the process of making this video. I hope one day I get a chance to do this again. And then very shortly after that, a guy I know who's in a band, who's, they're a touring band. He reaches out on Facebook and is like, do I know anybody who can make a music video? And I was like, I would like to try that, please. And he's like, well, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely serious. So I made a music video for this band. Came out great. Everybody loved it. I had a blast. And that's when I fell in love with filming. And that's when I fell in love. Hammer Fight.
Hammer Fight's
the name of the band.
Hammer Fist was my sophomore year. Right.
The song, the video was a zombie music video. It was like a zombie, movie or whatever. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I ended up making a bunch more music videos. And then I got into, we played fantasy football together for a long time.
I love you guys already.
Yeah, so I'm pretty like that's my obsession. Like that's my thing. That's like my hobby, my obsession. And it always bothered me after we would do our draft that ESPN Sports Center would not be talking about my fantasy league. I'm like, how dare they not talk about us? So I said, I'm going to make an ESPN Sports Center for our fantasy league. So I gave myself the task of learning the process of, making the stuff, the motion graphics, all that type of stuff. And I gave myself the task of, can I produce a weekly episodic show? Am I able to do this, my one self? Can I do all this stuff? And so for several seasons, it was something like 6 seasons of fantasy football. I did a Sports Center every week, an episode for our league. And just for fun, but
That's
I was teaching myself.
Fucking fun.
I was teaching myself all these skills, like everything on After Effects and Premiere and all this stuff, like learning to film and to light and to edit and to make motion graphics and all this stuff. And then so he comes to me in 2018 and he's like, hey, why is there no Bartender Battle Show? And I went, that's what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. I said, we are going to make this show. And so for 2018, we kind of went back and forth. I was like, yes, we can do this. He's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, we can do this. And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, yeah, man, we can do this. And so we start really chewing it up. And Albert says, okay, let me sit down. Let me write a script. I sit down. I start making notes because, the way that Albert puts stuff together was, as he mentioned from theater, he does the script thing and I did the outline thing. We come together and we start kicking this thing up back and forth, back and forth. I think we can really do this. I think we can really do this. Albert was at that time lucky enough to have a relationship with Whistlepig.
Yeah.
Oh,
so he reaches out to Whistlepig and Dave Pickerel.
Yeah, Dave Pickerel was the master distiller at Whistlepig at the time. In a very short way, I'm lucky that he knew me. You know what I mean? That was a cool thing. Very big name in the business of whiskey. Of course, you probably have heard that name before. Yeah. So Dave was just a sweet man who was just so smart. And one year at Tales of the Cocktail, which I don't know if you've ever been to Tales. Tales is like the booze festival in New Orleans every year.
No, I wish.
One year at Tales, maybe 2017, 2018?
It would have to be 2018.
Probably that summer, I guess. I went to the Whistlepig house and I'm like chopping it up with Dave and a couple of the reps and whoever. And it's like literally 4:00 in the morning. And I'm like, Dave, I got a question. I'm like finally going to get up the courage to ask him if he thinks this idea is any good. Right. So I like half in the bag and I'm like, Dave, I got a question.
Morning in New Orleans is probably not the soberest anyone.
Dude. And honestly, right. And we're like in some, enclosed, garden between buildings, whatever we're doing.
So you had a whole like vibe going too.
Oh man, it was crazy. It was like a whole thing happened. And I'm like, Dave, let me ask you this thing. And I asked Dave, come here. I got a question for you.
Come here, let me talk to you.
I actually spotted him at the party because I saw at the time it was, I want to say he was carrying around a bottle of Boss Hog 2. And I saw the little statue sticking out of somebody's pocket. There's hundreds of people at this party, and I see this bottle sticking out of somebody's pocket, and I'm like, that's got to be Dave Pickerel. I'm gonna go say hello. I met the guy 2 times before that, whatever. So I had got went over to him. I started chatting. He's like, oh, I know who you are. You're a good friend of Savannah's, and blah blah blah. And yeah, we started chatting, and I said, I gotta ask you this thing. I got an idea. The idea is for me to have this bartender battle show. I'm gonna run into a bar. I'm gonna challenge them to a duel, but I want to have done my homework. I want to be like, no, we're going to use this spirit because I was just at the distillery and I learned everything there is to know from the distiller themselves. Do you think you would be down to have me at the distillery and teach me all these things and be on camera and like make that part of the episode? And he was like, that sounds great. That should exist. We should do that. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then I passed out in a chair and he took a photo of me with a empty bottle of Whistle Pig 12 on my chest.
Is that somewhere?
I have that photo, which I'll send to you later as well.
Oh my God. Like that is amazing. That should have been in the thumbnail.
In this very funny way, started that whole thing. He passed a little while after that. And the people at Whistle Pig were just so gracious to continue on with this project that this guy that I knew from in passing for all these years had said he would do something with me. And they were just so gracious. They had us up at the farm. We filmed at the farm a couple of days. We drank, we ate, we were married. They literally put us up on the facility with a chef to cook for us.
It was incredible.
Incredible experience.
So all the way.
Yeah, and just learning everything there is to learn about that so that when we show back up to do the actual competition, we have all those things filmed and they're in the bag. And then we turn whoever's in the bar at the time in the show, whoever's sitting in the bar when we guerrilla style attacked it and challenged the bartender, we make them be the judges. So the idea for that as well, and most bartenders will tell you, it doesn't really matter what I think or what any of these other people think. The only person's opinion that should matter is the person drinking it. So right. In all of those forms, like, yeah, I can do all the things that I love and I can talk to you about flavor profiles and try to get you to a place that I think you're going to love. But at the end of the day, it's going to be your experience, your palate, your life that is going to, turn this drink in that way. So we turn the crowd into the judges and then they vote and then we decide who has the most spirit for spirits. And that's it. And that's pretty much the show with the Dave Pickerel story woven into it.
Yeah. That's really what the genesis of it was. We were able, once he said yes, and we were able to say, okay, well, we have Whistle Pig. Whistle Pig is on board with this. Then everybody else was just a little bit more likely to listen. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then we were very fortunate. Little Water Distillery was a connection through a friend of mine. And it certainly helped that we had already filmed at Whistle Pig and that gave us a little bit of clout, but very much it cannot be understated the power of relationships.
100%.
Of connections that you make with the people. Like a lot of what we did was off the back of Albert's connections that he had made all throughout those years, going from this position to that position and diving deeper in, making these genuine connections. And that's really what, allowed Spirit for Spirits to come into being, is those connections and those, those people believing in what we were doing. I told Albert early on, I was like, if people see that you're going to win a lot of races, they're going to want to put their logo on your race car.
That's fair.
And so far along the way, people have believed in the project that we're doing, and they say, yeah, what can we do? How can we be involved? Most of the time.
And you're right. Having that clout from something, a monster in the game like Whistle Pig is going to help you so much. I mean, you also think about that. Rest in peace. Obviously,
of course, yeah.
Yep.
But there's a lineage there. There's a camaraderie there. So if someone knows their homeboy signed off, like, yeah, I could talk to you more. Like someone in the industry respected you enough to do a project with you, was comfortable with your project. It adds clout. So hell, there are people who are hesitant working with a show called Bourbon and BS. But then when you speak to people I've worked with, they're like, oh, super professional. The name, don't let it throw you off. It's a lot of fun. I'm like, really?
You gotta have a sense of humor, Yeah. That's important too.
Yeah, especially with service industry. They curse a lot. It's just funny.
It's true.
So the funniest thing is that I tried to tell my fiance what your show, give or take, was. And I said, remember when Bobby Flay used to run into a restaurant and challenge someone? And I'm sure you get that comparison all the time. She's like, oh yeah. Why didn't anyone do that before? I was like, I have no idea. But when I see them do this, I was like, this makes so much freaking sense. And I think up until like the last five years, the cocktail industry didn't get as much love. 5-10 years. The cocktail industry just, you almost equated it to just easy. A bartender's job was not as respected, I guess, as it should have been. And I will say that. I think you guys deserve so much more respect. Because there's like three, one of the things I joke about is that there's three universal languages: is alcohol, spirits, food, and music. I could always tie a good memory to a spirit. I know my favorite bartender, I know my favorite bar, I know my favorite drink, and I have plenty of memories associated with it. So I think that was kind of the reason why that kind of concept wasn't messed around with. We saw the show, The Drink Master, where instead of The Food Master, it was on Netflix, where people were making these over-the-top cocktails, all that. And I'm not saying because you guys are on the show. I'd much rather see your version of that show than someone coming in with a sea foam 14 distilled extract with like some random ingredient that I'll never see in my life. I'd rather hear the history of a distillery of spirit and see you go to an actual establishment that I could walk into next week if I wanted to.
I think we're talking to our exact audience is like yeah, we're three things. I think we're a battle show, a competition show. I also think we are sort of a nerdy deep dive show in our own way. A little bit of history, a lot of flavor profiling and things like that, which is just a lot of fun. And then the last piece is that we're actually a travel show. We go to these places. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the concepts that Dave came around with from noticing all the mom and pop shops all around when we're in Vermont, as we're on our way to Shoreham, whatever it was. He's like, I see this little, wood carver and this person who does this and this person who does that. Why can't we feature some of those little things? So in addition to the show, which is pretty much the sun in our universe, Dave created some of the satellites that move around it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll start those.
Locally sourced is the series that Albert's talking about. We were driving home from Whistle Pig. We just had this magical couple of days where it really felt like, it was unreal. Like, I can't believe we're actually here doing this.
That's pretty cool.
And so the whole drive up, I'm looking out the window driving, making him drive. The whole drive back, I made him drive again. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm looking out the window.
Passenger princess.
But I'm looking out the window and I see these, like Albert said, local businesses that, maybe I might not see anywhere else. So I said, I'll bet you, same thing with like the legitimacy that we talked about with the clout. I'll bet you that if we reached out to one of the small businesses that's in the town with the distillery, I'm sure the distillery is probably the biggest business in the town. Yeah. And if we tell them that we're working with the distillery, then they'll probably let us come and shoot there. And that's exactly what happened. So locally sourced, while you're in Atlantic City checking out Little Water Distillery, make sure to stop by the Garden State Beer Company because they make great microbrew. They're a great microbrew. When you're in Louisville, Kentucky, checking out Angel's Envy Distillery, make sure you go to Sugar Mama's Bake Shop and have some of those bourbon balls because they are delicious.
I've been there. I love them.
Sugar Mama works with the freaking Pappy family. She's making Pappy 10 bourbon balls.
It's crazy.
I saw that.
No, you want to know what the craziest thing is? Well, I'm like, do you have like bottles here? She's like, yeah, let me go get a case.
Right.
She has a case of what?
A Pappy 10. Just chilling in the back. She's like, oh, crack a case for you. Let's get a bottle out. Yep. It's like, for her, it's just like an ingredient in her bourbon balls.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's in the pantry.
It's wild. It's just wild.
I need to bake more. I need to do something more.
So we decided we were going to feature those local places. We've been talking about going back on the road for season 2, and we're excited to speak to the local businesses. Hey, we're going to be in town. Is there some way we can come in? Because I also think that there's a lot of value. Albert Albert certainly has a talent, and we've touched on it a little bit, but the reason why I think Albert is as good as he is at not only the bartending, but the drink creation is that he's got an incredible palate. He's very good with flavors. He's good with remembering flavors. He makes a point at one point during the locally sourced segment in Smith Tea Company that having a good palate means having a good memory, and having a good memory means reminding yourself constantly. That's something that made an impression on me that he said. And I have a very bad sense of smell, and thereby I have a pretty poor sense of taste. So this to me is very impressive that Albert can know what underripe pineapple smells like, or what an overripe tomato smells like to be able to differentiate between these things with such fine accuracy is very, very impressive to me. So Yes, Albert's a professional at that. Albert's a professional behind the bar. But I also wanted to create a situation where Albert would just be like you and me, like learning something just like we are, like just as new to this as anybody would be. So locally sourced gives us an opportunity for Albert to be in a place where he's not also an expert. You know, when we're at a distillery, he's also an expert. When we're in a bar, he's also an expert. But when we're at the bakery, he's not an expert at all. He's just along for the ride. And that creates a different dynamic that our audience can come along with Albert as well and have these adventures. So that just sort of fills out, as Albert was mentioning, the solar system, the galaxy of Spirit for Spirits. Yes, we have the sun of the episode of the main show as the center, but we do have these other pieces of content behind the stick revolving around the show. We have locally sourced revolving around the show. We have a segment called Quick Classics where it's just really quick, a quick hitter. 3 minutes or less. Alby gives you these classic recipes so that you can have your little directory of recipes. Bang, bang, bang. Get in, get out. Mm-hmm. Get drunk.
Yeah, the Signature Series. We just started the back of house stuff.
Yeah, Signature Series is great because you get to learn Albert's original recipes, which are pretty cool. You don't get that anywhere else. Yeah. Back of house is we're doing stuff in the kitchen now where we're teaching people how to make their own syrups at home, to make their own infusions at home, so on and so on. So, the idea is to continue to touch on all these different, really interesting, special, fun, and different things that are happening within the spirits world, which, as you've already noted, have thus far been underrepresented. Oh. People don't know like half of what goes on behind the bar and beyond, behind the bottle. So we're hoping to shine a light on all of that.
Like the easiest comparison I can make is that people will buy simple syrup at Walmart. Like that could be something that people see as overwhelming. I don't know how to make simple syrup. Like, yes, you do. I promise you do. You do. Like something as simple as just
Spirit for Spirits on Instagram, and we'll teach you how to make simple syrup.
Exactly. But to your point is there are things out there that even to someone who has just dabbled a little bit, it's simple. But then there are people at home that will buy these ingredients or buy all these things and just spend an excessive amount of money because they're kind of concerned about trying this. And I think part of the fun is doing it on your own. Is part of saying like, I did this, I had fun with it, I got creative with it, it didn't necessarily work out, or it came out fantastic. It is
so much reward in like creating that carrot syrup for yourself, right? How much reward is in that, right?
Yeah, I have like 6 syrups that people are like, hey, can you make more when you come over? I was like, no. I'm joking. I'm always funny.
You know what you can do? You can do it yourself.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, I can send you the exact ingredients and the checklist. Yeah,
and that's part of the fun. I mean, I've been designing cocktails for so long. Yeah. I just changed locations within the same company to a different restaurant, and one of the cocktails that still remains at the old spot, even though we've come into a new season, is actually a carrot reduction that I had done on a menu there. So, so you did an infusion of carrots into a simple syrup of some sort.
Yes,
so
sir.
Instead of doing any water at all, I just went right to juiced carrots, and I just used carrot juice to do that whole thing and create the base. Yeah, I had to manipulate it much further than that to get where I wanted to get to.
You do a clarification process too with it to make sure?
We did not. I wanted it to be orange because the actual drink is a margarita twist. So what we created was what we called vitamin A, because it actually is bright orange. Part of the design of that place was about representing the market. Okay. So once again, the theme comes into play, right?
Yeah, of course.
So for things that we do when we talk about where does the inspiration come from, like for me in creating a menu, there's always been like an overarching theme. In this particular menu, it was like, oh great, we're going into a spring menu. Let's represent this thing that our restaurant does. We get everything we possibly can from the most local market we have. Mm-hmm. That is our thing. How do I translate that from the kitchen to the bar? How do I then also create the same ideals of being not only farm to table friendly, but how do I reduce waste? How do I connect with my kitchen to create a full circle of all of these things? So as all those things were happening, it was like, oh cool, you guys are peeling this many carrots. Well, give me all the carrot skins, and you're doing this with this. Give me all this, and make juice out of that, and do this out of this, and we're just reusing things that would normally be waste. Which is a great way to keep your costs down on everything that you're doing. Is that you're recycling things that were previously thrown away, and then if you're able to turn that into something interesting, fun, special, and different, then now you're talking, right? Now not only are you speaking to your own flavor profiles and making drinks that are dope, you're also speaking to these other broader things and problems in the world, and how do we solve them, right? How do we create less garbage? How do we support our local farmers? How do we do these things in a better way? And being able to do that in Manhattan is just like really freaking special. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, it's such a big city with so many things going on and so many unique profiles of people too, right? And clienteles. So being able to get creative is going to be so much fun out there. Guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Not long. We're going to get back into it very briefly. Make sure that you check them out. Interesting, special, fun, and different. We're going to hopefully get a shirt in the mail. Guys, be right back. Hey guys, here at the show, we ask that you follow 3 simple rules that'll save your night and possibly your dignity. Rule number 1, don't drink and drive. Seriously, Uber exists for a reason. If you wouldn't trust yourself to build IKEA furniture after 3 bourbons, you definitely shouldn't be behind the wheel. Rule number 2, avoid Amazon one-click buy. Drunk you thinks a medieval suit of armor is a great investment. Sober you, not so much. And then try to explain to your credit card company that. And finally, rule number 3, do not text your ex. Look, they had their chance, and you deserve better. No one ever found happiness at the bottom of a 2 a.m. I miss you text. Move on, hydrate, and remember, you're better than that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Text literally anyone else. Text your Uber driver that you missed them, but not your ex. Seriously, all jokes aside, stay safe, do the right thing, and take care of yourselves. All right, guys, now back to the show. All right, so yeah, I have a little bit of fun with my don't drink and drive. One of the things, especially when we're talking about spirits, I want to make sure people drink responsibly and do nothing stupid. Because we would hate for someone, I would feel infinitely guilty if someone was on my carrot cake old fashioned and did something silly like text their ex or, injured themselves.
I feel better at texting the ex. I feel like that's the least of the.
Yeah, that's the least of it.
There's a hierarchy.
There's definitely a hierarchy, but we gotta have fun.
Sending a dumbass text happens all the time anyway.
But you'd be surprised how many times that commercial sticks with people, and later on, I get a text message from a friend or a message from a listener, like, "I love your commercial. It reminded me to drink responsibly." Like, I had
you instead of Beth.
Yes.
Doing
anything. I had a couple of people tell me that they Ubered home and that would be proud of them. Good for you.
That's the good stuff. Someone else will drive. I promise you.
I promise you. You could call anybody.
It's a very different world than we grew up in.
Yeah, when we grew up, like a taxi was hard. You had to stand in front of a corner, all that kind of shit. But now there's an app where it encourages you to get in a car with a stranger.
There's no excuse. There's no excuse.
Yeah, not one. But so we're gonna get back into it a little bit and get a little bit more about. So you guys already kind of covered it about what inspired you to start Spirit for Spirits. There wasn't a bar battle show going on there, and you decided you wanted to create it using Whistle Pig first. What was the bar you decided to start with, and what inspired that? Did you reach out, or is it really kind of an ambush? I don't want to give too much behind the veil.
You guys still got to get permission from the places to do anything. Yeah. So you have to set it up. We have to do that stuff. Also being just conscious of people's business. You don't want to actually interrupt someone's service to do this sort of thing. Yeah. Right. So we were just very friendly and kind, and we were able to start at Royalton Hotel, which was the hotel that I had worked in. Right. And we're able to challenge one of my old buddies who was there. We got the hotel to sign off on it, and we did it in an afternoon when they weren't open yet. Right. So we were able to do it before they opened. So it was an early afternoon, maybe like noon to 3, something like that. We shot in that that location, and I knew the place really well. I knew the people really well. I knew the bartender really well. I knew the product really well. It was like a thing that was just, you're getting a little behind the scenes now at the moment, but the idea of it was just like a bunch of a really cool group of people in a very special place, just coming together to make some dreams come true, man. So it was like it was just all the right moment, all the right time. The rest of it, the other 4 episodes in season 1, as we went to 5 different places, it just started to grow. And I think that real thing came out of me being involved in cocktail competitions before that. I had competed in a bunch and had some recipes get purchased. I had a recipe from Tanqueray 10 win a competition and got purchased, and they threw a party and like did a whole thing. And I have like coasters that have like my name and the recipe of the drink on them and stuff. It's like there's like cool things to pick up over the years.
When a recipe gets purchased, what does that process look like from that point on?
Let me see if I can remember the name of that drink. The name of that drink, I think I might have called the Corner Pocket, and I think it was all based around the full magic 8 ball of ingredients that go into making Tanqueray 10. Then I took that and designed some sort of aviation twist more or less, for that drink. And then it ended up on a bunch of summer menus. They actually bought the recipe, like had me at Diageo. Like the whole thing was very cool. So that was a pretty cool one.
Freaking badass.
Yeah. Some of those I was in a finals competition. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it came up 2 days in a row. Woodford Reserve, I had been a finals competition competitor for one of their Manhattan comps here in the city.
I was at that.
You were at that. You did some shooting at that, which was really fun. But one of the other girls who was in that was the manager in the restaurant I went to last night. I saw her. I was like, Meg, what are you doing here? It's like, well, you work here? No, we hadn't seen each other in 10 years, and I saw her last night, and then we were just talking about it today. So I guess we'll have to have Meg on the show at some point.
There you go.
We'll have to get her going. She's super talented. Also, it's just like, and I think one of the things that I realized in all of this is that I'm just blown away by all the other talent that's out there. Like I never knew that my stuff was good, and then was like actually good. Like I think what I'm doing is good, and then like other people think it's good too. And then I go out there and I taste other people's stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, your stuff is so good. Like how did you get so good at this? And then I'm like, man, I want to show off what you do. And that's pretty much how we ended up with Jeffrey Alvarado, right? Because he was in a comp that I was at, and I was like,
That's
hey,
exactly
Jeffrey.
right. That was the comp, the Garrison early round of
That was
Garrison.
that was New York's final. That was the New York final for Garrison Brothers, which I ended up winning.
Yeah, I saw the video. Like I saw that.
Yeah, they're super cool too, man. The big prize for that was actually a barrel of whiskey.
Yeah, you can't see it's off camera.
It's off camera, but so
I have a barrel in my garage right now. You have a barrel of whiskey in your home bar.
Yeah, they did some cool stuff, man. There was a big cash prize and a barrel of whiskey, which they were like, well, it's almost a barrel. It's 30 bottles. However you want your 30 bottles, you can have them. And I was like, can I take them at cask strength? And they were like, you sure can. So I have 30 bottles. I had 30 bottles of Garrison Brothers single barrel at cask strength, 139.4 proof. Yeah,
damn near hazmat. Pretty
Legit.
high up there. So
those are the things, right? Those competitions where you start to see this talent, where like the inspiration, just to finish up the point there about like how to show off all these other people and do what they do in these other really cool spots, and how do we come back to these 4 words all the time, right? Interesting, fun, special, different. How do we do all these things? Like if you have one of these 4 words, you're probably a person worth knowing. If you have 2 of these 4 words, you're probably somebody that I want to be really close friends with. If you're 3 of these words, you're probably on our show. And if you're 4 of these things, then you're with us, man. You're here. Like that's how I feel about these words when I see them. You know what I mean? And that's the thing.
Yeah. Well said.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, thanks for putting it on a shirt.
No problem. Yeah, that's
very well said.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
that's what I do. I pay attention. That I like that what he says there. I like that right there, and I think that would look damn good on a shirt.
Yeah, that's right. Well, no one's watched me more times than him over the years. So
I have more hours watching Albert and listening to Albert than just about anything.
Than my wife, probably. Definitely.
Yeah, you have a true support system. But Dave, your role is super intricate, right? Correct. Yeah. Like you have to make sure the shots are there, like multiple shots, everything is lining up right. Like how does that work for you? First, you said 15 years since you've been behind a bar, but does that help you kind of understand where your shots would look the best? What does your experience go into that?
So my bartending experience really just helps me not be a fool as it pertains to knowing the terminology, knowing like what's going on, like I can look at and see what's going on and I understand it. I know the steps to building a cocktail. I know these things. So my bartending experience really just prepares me to like, be among and be able to move within, without. As far as setting up shots and things like that, lighting scenes and stuff, those are things that I got better at over time. Like I said, when I was in my apartment shooting my fantasy football show, I was practicing different ways of lighting things, and I was practicing different ways of filming things and stuff. So that practice that I put in all along that time is really what kind of prepares me to walk into just about any location, because that's another part of it, is that, as Albert mentioned, like a lot of these bars we go into, they're dark by design. It's not meant for there to be like filming done in here. It's supposed to be dark and have a mood. There's supposed to be a vibe, not a film shoot, right? Yeah. So I have to kind of be flexible to work with what I've got to be able to understand the fundamentals, understand the way that this is done correctly, so that I can sort of apply that to all the different places that we go. Have to be flexible, and I also have to know what it is that I'm looking for. So I think the part of that helps me the most is knowing Albert as well as I do. He made a joke, but it's true. I've watched him and listened to him more than just about anybody. So I know who he is. I know what Albert's, for the most part, what his strengths are on camera. I know what his talents are. I know what his abilities are. And very often I know what I can expect. Right. So if we have a familiarity with each other where I'm the behind the camera and I kind of know what's coming next, so we can continually, continue to move. When we do our distillery shoots, it's one shot. We basically have one chance to walk through get this full tour, and we got to get everything we can get in that one walk. So, it's a matter of me knowing, okay, well, the conversation is going this way. I know what Albert's thinking right now. So I know what we got coming up, so it's helpful knowing, who he is and how he, conducts himself. I know what style of host Albert is. I know, in a lot of ways, his sense of humor, and I can, kind of anticipate that as well.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So for me, I think it's just a matter of being flexible, right?
That's awesome. That speaks to why the show is being so successful and why you guys work so well together and all that stuff. The experience, you guys are familiar with each other. You genuinely care about each other and want each other to be successful in this and are passionate about it.
We literally know each other 30 years, by the way. So.
Yeah.
30. That was the next question is, when did you guys meet?
Yeah.
30 years?
We met in English class when we were 15. So
high school.
Yeah.
It's like 16 or 17 years old, something like that. Yeah.
Jesus, that's a fantastic friendship. Like they say,
we know each other a long time.
Yeah, we were in a band together for many years. So we've played music on a lot of the same stages as a lot of our favorite bands,
Wrote stuff, recorded stuff.
Yeah.
Did a lot of things together.
We've done a lot of different creative things. And that's another thing I think that helps us. I mean, we know each other very well, just in the sense of how dedicated we are as creators. You know what I mean? Like how, being creative really is important to both of us. And we are, I consider this a fortunate situation where I have somebody who will allow me to fulfill these things that I want to fulfill with my own life. This person is helping me to do those things. Like Alby is accomplishing what he wants to accomplish in this while I'm accomplishing what I want to. We're helping each other to get this thing to move forward. And I know that we both care about it very much, and we understand that we both care about it very much. So I think that's very valuable. And it helps us to maintain, a forward progress, which so far, has been really great. We only released in December. We've got what I think is a nice, almost 5,000 followers on subscribers on YouTube. We're up over 2,000 on Instagram. So, it's not viral, obviously, not yet anyway, but it's organic growth. It's steady.
We've only just begun.
Yeah. And it's really only it's April, so it's only been
the same thing, Alby. That's why I laughed. I'll
Yeah,
hear a song in my head.
I think there's another cool piece of it too, where this is something we obviously started before COVID, right? And then during COVID times, I took care of my grandmother at the end of her life, and my dad had gotten really sick right before COVID, and he ended up passing during COVID, and a million other family things all during that time.
My condolences.
Oh, thank you very much. We're all going to go through it, and we're luckier to be in our 40s and have our grandparents. That's pretty cool. So that was pretty good. Anyway, all of those things being said, like you get to these times and the world shuts down for a whole year, and you're like, well, we were doing this project. Are we still going to do it? And him wanting to still create and me wanting to still create. And we're like, well, we have all this stuff. Should we just go ahead with it? Okay, let's just keep going ahead then. We'll just forge ahead and pretend like those 2.5 years didn't happen. And we'll just continue to go, man. So we were able to, over a very long duration, able to rally our fortitude and just get through it, and then put it out there.
I commend you guys for that too.
The project. Yeah. Thank you. I've believed in the project since the moment he asked me why there's no Bartender Battle Show. I've believed in what this could be. And throughout COVID shutting us down for almost 2 years, I don't think that my commitment to it or my belief in it ever wavered. And I believe in it now just as much as I did then. Yeah. And so for me it was like a no brainer. Like we're going to continue to do this. And, we released in December. As long as, everything goes, as long as there's not another pandemic, we'll be able to release our second season within a year,
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy about that.
No, and so it was funny because on our previous episodes, we talked about the pandemic impacting a lot of the way people do things. And I hate to say the new normal, all that, but even people, hey, I wanted to get into roller derby. Hey, I wanted to get into this hobby. I wanted this project I was working on. I had a friend who was a filmmaker and he was going to Full Sail University, and he had to put everything on hold or at least find a new way of filming. So the fact that you and some of the friends that I've spoken to were still tenacious and still passionate enough to push through, where typically people, when they lose a little bit of steam or run into a little bit of a speed bump, say, maybe this wasn't right. Maybe this wasn't meant to be. You guys said, no, I'm going to do what the fuck I planned on doing anyway. So I commend that. There's a lot of strength and tenacity in that should be, applauded and recognized. So cheers to that, and cheers that you guys keep pushing.
Thanks to you, brother.
But this is important for me. This is kind of goofy, but you guys said band.
Yeah.
And I was not going to let that slide.
Yeah.
What did you guys play?
I played in the band. I played guitar and I sang. And I also play bass and drums, which at different times in the band I played.
Goddamn,
both
baby,
of
you're
those.
talented as hell, man.
And, Albert was a vocalist with us, and
I played the tambourine. Once in a while, the egg. I would play the egg.
That's true. The egg shaker, big egg shaker guy. And then eventually Albert did pick up the guitar, and then Albert and I played in the 2-man acoustic project for a little while called Stick Figure. And we played, I had a loop pedal for my acoustic guitar, so I would make live loops right there on the stage, and we would do remixes of old school hip hop songs and R&B.
Maybe let
stuff.
me show you how to
do this.
Oh my God. You guys have been having so much fun for 30 years, and I love that part.
Most of them.
Some of it was fun. Some of it was fun. Some of it was, I don't remember getting home last night. Some of it was that too.
That happens. Yeah, that happened.
But you got home. But you got home.
The whole thing. Yeah, we got
awesome.
our whole spectrum of experiences.
Yeah, man. At least it was fun along the way.
Yeah. Some memories are hazy, but that's part of the fun of it. You try to piece that together the next day. Why do I have a random tattoo? Whose phone number is this? And why do I have Wendy's wrappers next to my bed? It's fine. This is okay.
Whose phone number is this? Do you remember the friendship shoe?
Excuse me?
Remember the friendship shoe?
Excuse me? And with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we get back, I want to know more about this goddamn shoe. Be right back, guys.
Sponsor of Bourbon and Bullshit, Big Bang Boom Collective is Orlando's burlesque and cabaret entertainment group, comprised of Midnight Fables Cabaret, Big Bang Boom Cabaret, and Foxy's Den. Follow us on Instagram at Big Bang Boom Collective, or join our VIP email list for info on upcoming shows by visiting www.bigbangboomcollective.com.
All right, guys, so we are back.
Stand by 1 second.
Recording in progress.
All right, guys, we are back. So we were not going to skate on by that, but the friendship shoe?
All right, so we don't have to dwell on this too long. It's just something that popped into my head that I haven't thought about in 20 years, probably. Basically, what it was it was a fun way to collect phone numbers while we were on stage. So essentially, we would get people to, Albert would take off one of his shoes and leave it on the stage, and we'd say, hey, we like to meet new people and have new friends, so we would love to have you put your phone number in the shoe, and then we'll give you a call after the show. And it was just really nice, good, clean fun. Some kid stuff.
That was interesting.
Literally part of the show.
That's
it was a good part of the show. There was there was a bit to it, but the bit would be funny right now. The actual bit wouldn't be very funny. But yeah, it was just a way to collect up phone numbers, which sometimes worked.
And I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah,
that's right.
It was a long time ago, so we don't have to.
It happened long before I met my wife.
That's right. That's right.
I'm married. I'm engaged to a Dominican woman, so I don't talk about those times in the past too often.
All of that.
Moving on. All right, guys. So, not related to the shoe. How have the audiences been responding? Because the show concept's really dope. You're in season 1 still, and we got some seasons coming up. How have the audiences been responding to it and reactions? Have you had people reach out to you? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I would say is the self-realization of it to me was the most important thing. It was like, we got this thing out there, and I just like smiled for 6 days. I was just like, we did, you know what I mean? Like, it's out there, and that was really cool. And to have very few negative words said about it in any way, shape, or form is super flattering and awesome, and just like really, really cool. And I think the third piece that I will say is that as we're beginning to grow now, seeing the growth in it, going from 100 YouTube subscribers when we started to nearly 5,000 right now. Just in the last couple of weeks, really, just like as things starting to grow, it has exponential potential. The really cool things that have started to happen of like a bitters company reaching out to be like, hey man, have you tried any of our stuff? A Sotol company, send me a bottle, do a thing. Like there's just some really cool things that are happening where people are sending us the things that we think are interesting, fun, special, different. We get to do reviews. We get to like have these cool experiences and try to help the rising tide there, as I always say, right? The rising tide raises all the ships. So if some people can send us some stuff that we think is cool and we think, they think that we're cool, then let's do the thing together, man. That's like the name of the game, right? Nobody can do it alone. So
yeah, they like Albert said, a couple people reached out, shout out McMahon and Tate Cocktail Company. They sent us some awesome bitters to review. Bura Sotol was great. They reached out to us, and that's very like reaffirming to have somebody who you never heard of before reach out to you via DM and be like, hey, we like what you're doing. We're going to send you something. Can we send you something? Like
this guy from this podcast that we heard about?
Well, I actually reached out to him.
I'm just saying, like,
but they and also like getting comments on Instagram and comments on YouTube and stuff like that, like people asking us questions, which I eventually was like, oh, eventually people are going to like ask us questions and then we can do videos on that, right? But that obviously presupposes that someone's going to like interact with us, right? Interact with us on social media, right? Yeah. But that's actually starting to happen now, where people are asking us questions and is giving us ideas to do new videos and things. So yeah, like you're reaching out, you're touching someone, and it feels really good, and like, wow, this was all worth it, right?
Yeah. I love that, man. That engagement is what really motivates and drives like any creative process. Like I know that people say, make art for yourself, and people will follow and people will enjoy it. You're obviously showing the passion. You did it, but because you thought it had value, and people are enjoying it because of that passion. I think I would joke about the. You ever seen like those woodworkers online that like grinding wood and making all this stuff that you could never fucking make, but now I'm enthralled for the next 3 hours. It's the same thing with some of this, like when they see those shows, they get to nerd out, they get to learn the history, they get to see the process, they get to know like all the in-depth thing. I'm not going to build a mash bill at home, but because I see someone so passionately exploring it and discussing it and sharing the history and the notes and nuances, I couldn't tell you the caramelized leather belt, whatever. So the normal, like it's a Dave, I don't have as much of a refined palate as some of my peers. It's just what it is. I don't have it either. But I enjoy seeing the passion and that light shine. And when it was like, oh my God, then this, and you can tell these notes and these scents. And when you guys create this show, you
have to watch, I'm sorry to cut you off. You have to watch the locally sourced episode with the Smith Tea Company.
Okay.
Albert and Ravi.
We're super nerds.
These two guys were nerding out harder than I've ever seen. It was like, no, I'm nerdier. No, I'm nerdier. And then it's like, no, you don't understand. I'm nerdier. And he's like, but I'm the nerdiest. And no, I'm the nerdiest. For like 45 minutes. It was awesome though, because like I said, I've never knew that someone could know specifically what an underripe pineapple smells. Like,
it's insane. I have a really good friend. His name is Chef Greg Ritchie. He is the owner, operator, executive chef of SoCo Thornton Park. He's in the industry for like 30 years. I linked him with the master distiller of Lugo's Craft Distillery here in like Lakeland, Florida, the official rum of the Jacksonville Jaguars, all that stuff. Oh. And I had them, we just all three sat down for dinner and I just watched them nerd out about every flavor. I'm like, yeah, really, this is more interesting than I expected. I'm just eating fries quietly. Like,
that's me. Like, that's exactly me. That's me. Yeah.
So it's so cool that you get to, one, that passion comes through in everything you do, but two, that people are interacting with that passion. They get to open up and have questions, and you created space for them to be open and honest.
And I didn't say thank you yet. And thank you for saying such a sweet thing. It does mean a lot to me.
Oh, no problem.
Do you want me to send you that sound clip, David?
I'm just gonna rip everything we're doing right now off of YouTube. It's all mine. It's all mine.
I try to be gracious, man.
Remix all of it.
I always try to be gracious. It's
good. I think that we both know how much we both care about this, and I think that we both understand what the other one is allowing them to do in their own life, right? Like without him, I can't do this. Without me, he can't do this. And we both really, really want to do this.
That's a wonderful partnership. And the fact that it just happens so naturally is so fantastic. And you guys are just going to keep driving each other to do better, right? Like that's
the point.
Yeah. And you're going to challenge it a little bit more, and you're going to go into it a little bit more. Speaking of challenges, I'd like to ask kind of what was one of the challenges that you might have been worried about not winning, or when you thought, hey, this is going to be a really tough competition, one of the people that you might have gone against, or a drink that you went?
Well, I'll tell you a little secret. When I originally wrote the first script, the idea was that I would never win.
Right.
We would rig it every week for me to never win.
I appreciate that.
The whole idea of walking into someone else's bar, someone else's guests, someone else's regulars, in someone else's space, and have them make the drink that they're the best at
and lose. That's something. That's something.
I appreciate that.
We did ultimately decide to make it real.
Just make the voting real.
Whatever happens, happens. Because at the same time, like it became, well, would people want to keep tuning in just to watch you lose? Like just keep watching you, when they knew that what was going to happen. Yeah. So we took that part out of it, and now nobody knows how the show's going to end. Not even us. Mm-hmm. Like when we do the battle, the votes are truly the votes, and whoever wins. We find out when everybody else finds out.
I think another thing that really took some of the steam out of the worrying about it, right? So for me to worry about it less was to understand that what the show is about, and the show is not about winning, and it's not about losing.
Right.
This is about the nerddom of this whole thing and showing off the shit we think is dope, the people we think are cool, the spaces we think are excellent, the people who are doing shit that is interesting, fun, special, and different. Right. That's what we're trying to do here. It doesn't and for us to say that these are the people, whoever's in the bar right now is going to decide our fate, that's every night in the business. Mm-hmm. It's a microcosm of hospitality. We only have whoever comes in tonight. We have to treat them with the utmost respect. We have to do all the things we can possibly do to make their stay here and their experience exponentially better than the next guy. And that's what we're trying to do here today. And I think that those things all really come through. And if we win, we win. And if we lose, we lose. Either way, we tried really hard to make long-lasting connections, have an excellent time, and show off some really cool people and things, man. I think that's it.
The battle is a vehicle, is a means for us to accomplish all of those things. Yeah. The battle is just the excuse to have a good time.
Yeah. The catalyst for the good time.
Ain't that the truth?
I love that. And I will very openly say I appreciate that you didn't want to go in necessarily winning and doing something, because it could be negative, right? But being honest is also being genuine is part of it, right?
I think I'm gonna over reveal something about myself right now, that I'm a big wrestling fan, and there's a thing about the losing streak in wrestling where people then get on the side of the loser. How is he going to lose this week? Is he finally going to break the streak and win? Yeah. That kind of silly wrestling shit sort of goes through my head, and I'm like, that might be fun. I don't know,
it's another week
lovable loser,
me doing the job.
Yeah, I think we can all root for the Browns, right?
It depends which quarterback they picked. Listen,
well, they took.
They took Shador today, didn't they?
Yeah, they took two quarterbacks today. It made no sense. We could go for an hour on
I'm sorry to even bring that up.
No, I'm not mad about it. Listen, for Bourbon and Fantasy Football, tune into next week where me and Dave.
It'll be
we do one every year. We do an episode every
that's very cool.
This one in the previous podcast, we would do a live recording of our fantasy draft, and we talk about our picks and we judge each other and we talk shit the whole time. It's a lot of fun.
Hey, listen, if you're looking for somebody to join the Bourbon and BS Fantasy Football League, you look me up, buddy.
If you give me 2 seconds after this episode, I will show you 2 championship belts that belong to your champion of the Bourbon and BS League.
We've never won.
Man, I'm about to bring in some ringers in my league, aren't I? It's be some shit. I've actually been joking about a lot of our service industry friends are in fantasy football. Billy Maskers from the Courtesy, Mitchell Mejias, a bunch of them. They all do fantasy football. And I was going to do a service industry only league where there's instead of the championship belt would be some kind of like bar paraphernalia, like with a logo, like engraved with like the championship.
Well, here's
like
what you do. We have.
Hey, I'm seeing Alby's face.
No, the reason I know what he's thinking. Again, I know what he's thinking. So we were very fortunate. What happened was, like, as we were putting together the show, I decided I wanted to have like a little GoPro in each corner for when the bartenders do battle. Like when he reaches into the corner to pick up his whatever, I go to this corner shot, and we go to that corner shot, right, just to give you more angles behind the bar. And then I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool if we kind of got a bar tool company to sponsor this camera and make it the bar tool company cam, right? And every time we went to this shot, we would have the bar tools company's logo right there. And then they would also sponsor the Behind the Stick series. And I was like, that's a great idea. He's like, but how are we going to pull this off? And I said, don't worry. When people see that you're going to win a lot of races, they're going to want to put their logo on your race car.
Yeah. So
we're in Portland hanging out with his friend Matan. And we're at a bar between days of shooting at Westward Whiskey Distillery. We're just hanging out, talking, whatever. And Matan's just casually brings up in conversation. He's like, oh, yeah, I just bought into this bar tools company. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I own this bar tools company now. And I look at Albert and I look back at Matan, and I already had in my pocket. I had a copy of the video. Like, I had a video clip of our trailer / intro to the show with a dummy logo on it for the shot. It said your logo here in green. So Matan gets up, goes to the bathroom. I go to Albert. I'm like, Albert, I'm going to pitch him as soon as he gets back. As soon as he comes back from the bathroom, I'm pitching him on this. So I showed Matan the thing. I explained to him what I thought would be a good idea. He says, that's a beautiful idea. So we are fortunate enough to be sponsored by Bull in China. They're in Portland. They're an incredible bar tools company. And if you go to bullinchinapdx.com, you can use the promo code S4S-hookup, and you can get 15% off your order at bullinchinapdx.com. So for your viewers, and if you do want to get custom barware made, we should talk offline, all jokes aside, because we do have a hookup for that.
Yeah, he also Matan, being the awesome human that he is.
Yes, he's great.
Personalized a whole bunch of gear for me for my wedding. So he had a whole bunch of personalized gear made for all my groomsmen. All have their own shakers and Hawthorne strainers and spoons and everything with their names on them.
Where were you guys a year ago when I handed them like all these? I promise you, I will send you pictures. I got custom made barware for everyone.
Oh, very
box.
That's cool.
In a box and everything. It had the custom pictures of their signature drinks that I thought resonated with me and their relationship.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
that's super sweet.
I'm a nerd, bro. Like, if I tell you,
I also worked for Bardstown Bourbon Company for about a year as one of their reps here in New York, and they were super sweet. And they engraved a couple bottles with my wedding date on them for all my groomsmen as well. So that was a pretty cool one. That's actually what I'm drinking right now.
I saw that bottle, and I wanted you to kind of touch a little bit about Bardstown. Hey,
my God,
do the plug.
Sure.
Do the plug. Tell me about Bardstown.
We're not gonna full plug them
yet. Stay tuned.
We've gone through marketing level 1. That's what I've been told. But if we can get to marketing level 2, then we'll be talking.
This podcast is not sponsored by Bardstown Bourbon yet.
It's a super cool company. They do really dope stuff, and they're like
the Discovery series and all that stuff that I've tried before. It's been fantastic. I'm never mad at any of the stuff I've tried from them.
This is a collab series, right? So this is collaborative series. This collaborative series is the Amaro Nonino finish. So,
excuse me?
Oh yeah,
I know the
you haven't seen that. You know why you haven't seen that?
Why?
Because I have the bottle. That's right.
You're the only one who has that bottle?
No, there were it's super limited edition because the Amaro Nonino was so hard to come by.
Yes,
it was super limited edition. This was a gift from the Northeast rep for me for my wedding. So I just recently cracked it because it's delightful. But it is here's the bourbon plug for this. 80% of it is 12-year-old, 75% corn Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. The last 20% is a blend of 2 different Indiana ryes. One is 7 years at 51% rye, and one is 6 years at 95% rye. And then it says it stays 17 months in an Amaro Nonino cask to finish. So, damn delight.
Delicious.
And then the actual strength on it is 55.5. So
that's not bad. That's a little good amount of heat, and not something that's going to burn your senses.
Yeah, you know that like orange blossomy light vanilla that Amaro Nonino has?
Yeah.
all over the nose here. But the back end of it is all of that spicy rye combined with like that little touch of like baking spice that you get on the back of Nonino as well. So it's like it starts in Nonino and finishes on Nonino. The center is the heart of this bourbon, and that has a little rye kick to be like, don't forget we're here. We're also here. We're Indiana rye.
That's a beautiful sounding bottle, and I'm super jealous. So
happy to share it with you whenever you're up here, brother.
I will be probably
there's a few bottles back there. I don't know if you saw. There's a couple.
Top right, well, over your left shoulder. Not right, your left. Yeah. No, Bardstown's one of those distilleries that's doing some super cool stuff. Same thing I appreciate about Rare Character, a couple of these distilleries that are doing some blends and aging and processes and finishing processes that I get to have some fun with. They get to have some fun with it, and I get to enjoy. So I guess I get to have fun with it too. So
fingers crossed that they'll be part of our next season coming up. But
Rare Character or Bardstown?
The Bards. Yeah, the Bards. Okay. And Bards also owns Green River now too. So that's also possible.
Yeah, right there.
Is there GR back there?
Yeah, there's 2 bottles of Green River, some Wellers. It's usually lit up, but my room's a mess. So the office is a mess.
The weeded Green River, I think, is the best price point weeded bourbon around.
Sure you can't see? Because that's exactly the one I have. The weeded bourbon.
Nice.
Yeah, the weeded is like
good choice.
Yeah, for an everyday. Not that you should be drinking bourbon every day, but you should drink bourbon every day.
At least a little bit.
Hey.
Helps take the edge off. So I'm glad to see that audiences are responding well. People are hitting you up, and people are giving you more reasons to keep making more content, right? And part of the knowing what your audiences want is going to make you super successful at it. What do you hope Spirit for Spirits adds to the bar culture and craft community as a whole? When you start thinking about, one, you are elevating those, showing those ships up, like you said, like elevating these names, establishments, and locations. What's the end goal, and what do you hope to accomplish with it?
That's a really great question. When you had asked me, when you sent a little bit of like the teaser on that over, I started giving it a thought, and I was like, did I have an end goal in mind that wasn't like, I just don't want to have to go to work anymore in the same way I go to work? Like
it's still work for anyone at home who thinks content creation is not work.
No, but I don't want to have to, like, there's a glorious thing for me in the end goal of working for yourself, right? That's a goal, right? That's a real life goal that I think is true. But in the context of what I think it could do for the business, I think there's this really weird thing about bartenders, especially young bartenders. And I was the same way when I was young. There was a million things that I didn't want to do behind the bar. I got a ticket for a mojito, and I rolled my eyes and huffed and puffed and did all these other things. And now I get a ticket for a mojito, and I'm like, oh wait, I can't wait to do this thing. I've been saving this mint syrup for 3 days. I made it 4 days ago with this, with the mint that instead of throwing it away, I made syrup, and I took that syrup, and I was hoping I might get a ticket to show off this really cool thing that I did and just make something that's awesome for somebody. You know what I mean? And I think for me, the knowledge is power element of it, combined with it doesn't have to suck. You go to the bar every day. Everybody else goes to work all day long, and then when they're done with work, they finally get to go to the bar. You, as a bartender, you get to just go to the bar, and they pay you to be there, and that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is that you have to do while you're there, so what? Like, that's the gig, man. You come in, and if the drink is weird to make, or there's something that you don't know, you can learn every day. You can get better every day, 1%, right? 1% better every day, and whatever that means, and how we can do that every single day. I think if I can inspire in that way, that some of the knowledge is really fun, the places are really cool, the way we can treat each other and just like really have a dope experience and let the people that are experts in their field create for us. I think if I can accomplish any of that in just a 1% way, I'll be really happy.
That's awesome.
I like to, I agree with everything Albert said. I'll put it that way first, but I do agree that a reasonable goal for us is to be able to have Spirit for Spirits be our full-time job. Like that's something that we would love to be able to do. Like, instead of doing our 5 episodes on YouTube, maybe we do 15 episodes on TV somewhere or streaming service somewhere, something like that. I think that would be an easy to articulate goal. One of my earliest goals, like back in 2018 2019, when we were like really sort of still planning this, and I was the influencer economy didn't really exist at that time. Like influencers weren't as prevalent or as much of a thing as they are now. And I always thought like, well, wouldn't it be great if I could help Albert to become like the #1 bartender influencer? And at that time, it sounded like a really silly thing to say.
So real now,
but it's very real now. Yes,
it's a real thing now.
It's really like, so in some ways I feel, kind of like patting myself on the back that I had the foresight to be like, okay, this is something that we should think is important, because I think that it is important. But I still think that that goal is out there. It's still think that that goal is still reasonable to say, okay, the more people that I can have see him doing what he does in his element, on Spirit for Spirits, on locally sourced, the more people who can see what he's doing behind his bar at home, behind the stick, and all these things, the more people who can see how Albert is able to convey, and how Albert is able to teach, and how Albert is able to, bring people in, to me, accomplishing that goal of having him become, a higher level, higher ranking influencer, because people are recognizing the quality of what we do. Like the more people who can follow us, not just because I want to have the followers, but because I want them to recognize the quality of what we do. So that for me is one of my biggest goals, is to just get us in front of as many eyes as possible. Let as many people see what it is that we're doing, because, I think that we're bringing something unique to the table and in a unique way. So, one of my biggest goals is just continuing to get us out there and
I'll
get
be
more
in the forefront of all of this to make sure that he's recognized everywhere he goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I want him to not be able to leave the house.
He's just confined.
I
to his own
also
bar.
don't want to leave the house.
That's not 100% accurate. You like visiting these distilleries, don't?
Are you kidding?
That's true.
All I would do is go to baseball games. That's what I would do.
That's it. That's what you would do. Is you had no.
I would absolutely. It would be like, oh, cool. What distillery is near St. Louis? What distillery is in Detroit?
Yeah, the locally sourced would just be Albert at baseball stadiums.
That'd be hilarious. Just him,
like Michael K doing the tendy reviews. He just, like chicken tenders are.
You got to review the baseball helmet ice cream.
The baseball helmet ice creams everywhere. Yeah,
that's what you
got
to do. That's where the money.
You actually could probably make that happen too. Now that I think about it, like you could just review the cocktails at baseball stadiums and
one sips. You know the rules. One sip.
One sip, no bites. Just one sip. All right. So we're going to take one last break, and we're going to round it out, find out about the next couple seasons, what the plan is for the future of the show. And my favorite question to ask everyone who's always been in the service industry is Deathbed Cocktails. Be right back, guys. Hey guys, this episode is brought to you in part by Coach John Estrada of Run BMT Training, longtime supporter of the show and an absolute beast on the pavement. And for the record, this man just crushed the LA Marathon. And if you're looking to level up your running game, John's the coach to get you there. That's John with no H. Trust me, he's going to correct you. Whether you're training for your first 5K or tackling a full marathon, Run BMT, the coach is there, and John will have you running smarter, faster, and injury-free. So if you need expert coaching, hit up John at blackmattertraining.com and tell him I sent you. Now, he might not give you a discount, but he will make you a better runner. Again, that's John at blackmattertraining.com. Now let's get back to it. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, we are back. So as we round out the end of the show, I know you guys are busy, but I wanted to find out what's on the horizon for Spirits Season 2, any of like little sneak peeks, and you can hook us up with some exclusives, just
yeah, I'm going to give
between you and I, of course, no one else.
All the exclusive news. I wish I had exclusive news to give you, honestly. We are Season 2 is coming. It's right around the corner. Okay, our goal is to release Season 2 maybe around the same time Season 1 came out, which was December of last year, so sometime at the end of 2025. So obviously stay tuned, follow on Instagram, like it on subscribe on YouTube, all that good stuff, because that's where we're going to be. We're looking at 5 episodes for our second season. We would love to do something. We did a local distillery to us here in New Jersey. We did a Little Water Distillery in Season 1. We would love to try and do a local distillery in Season 2. So we're talking to a local place. We would love to go outside the country in Season 2. So we're hoping very much that we might be able to feature a mezcal. So that's what I'll say about that. And then there's a couple of other places. we know that bourbon country is obviously, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. We did Angels Envy down there. We might actually stop in and see them and say hi again. But we might do another stop or two along the Bourbon Trail down there. So yeah, you can expect 5 episodes. You can expect us to travel again. We're going to get out on the road a little bit. We might get into an airplane again. But the best way to do this, the best way to follow along on our journey is obviously to join us on Instagram at Spirit for Spirits. That's where we're posting our behind the sticks. We have content coming out on Instagram and
regularly,
YouTube Shorts regularly. Yeah, multiple times a week. New recipes, signature series, quick classics. Behind the stick, we're doing a lot of syrup builds and stuff like that now. So
a surprising amount of questions for that.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I kind of had a feeling that would be the case, and so far so good. People want to learn how to make syrups. So word to the wise: if you know how to make a good syrup, people want to learn that. So
I have a carrot cake one if you need it.
Hey, do a little guest behind the stick.
I know this guy that did this
behind a different stick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so season 2, 5 episodes. We're gonna try and do some exciting things, and we hope you can join us.
Yeah. I think the other really cool feature that hopefully will come to fruition is to get a bar outside of the city for the first time.
Ooh,
be very cool.
Yes.
That's also on the horizon. Our first 5 episodes were all right in Manhattan. So
one in Long Island.
Oh, one in Long Island, right? But inside
still New York.
In New York,
I know a guy in Florida who can get you into a local bar.
I mean, I know this guy.
Yeah, the guy.
This is part of the reach, right?
Yeah, the guy in Florida knows a couple people I want to know.
Yeah, sounds like it
from things I've heard.
I'll let you know. Actually, no
jokes.
Like
mentioned a rum company I might want to talk to.
Yeah, there's a couple master distillers whose names came up that I wouldn't.
They're actually already 2 of them already sent to David. So funny enough is like you guys were talking about the competitions. We have local competitions too. So we recently had a Jim Ramos Fizz, whatever it's called.
Ramos Fizz. You got it.
Yeah, we had it on Monday, Death in the Afternoon, which is an absinthe bar. We had a couple of other cocktail contests that went on throughout the city, and you don't realize they exist until you really heavily get into the service industry. Even there, like the Bartenders Guild of Orlando, Florida. Like they are doing competitions consistently. So like,
it's and they're really fun, man. Like
somebody should be out there shining a light on this stuff. And that's really what we're focusing on. We want to be able to show, what the cool things that people are doing behind the bar and behind the bottle.
Yeah. Not just me, but everybody else too.
Everybody else is
let's
doing
make this whole thing. It's supposed to be so much fun, man. Like, I don't know. It's a thing we literally fought and died for in this country to get back.
Yep.
The Volstead Act, and like trying to get back this thing, and we have it. Let's fight for it.
One of the things I've spoken to a lot of my listeners about, because they are surprised by how prominent the service industry is, like almost like an underground world exists that they know nothing of.
Sure.
So when you hear about these these cocktail enthusiasts and then these bartenders that work from service industry and learn across the country, learn around the world and all these things, and they just think the dude's pouring a Jameson and ginger for them, or they don't realize that these competitions and these people are intertwined and connected, and service industry is so much more in depth. When they listen to the show and hear the people in the service industry, it's like, wait, what? There's a go-go competition, guys versus gals, that's sanctioned by multiple rum companies and all this.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
This is massive. Like, this is a big freaking deal. If Microsoft Excel could have a world championship, so can Sprit.
My tikis are my favorite glass of wares that I have. Because I have a Chewbacca tiki over there. I have Chewbacca the Wookiee tiki.
I have a Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon from Evil Dead. I have one of those tiki glasses from one of those places near you. Paradise Lost in New York City.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Have you guys been there?
I haven't.
All right.
I work at night. It's hard for me to go out.
It's tough.
I don't drink.
That's fair.
Huh?
That's fair.
Fair enough.
He doesn't.
And
drink.
I don't drink. So
wait, what?
Yeah.
I made him a fake Negroni over here.
It was a no grony.
It was a no grony.
I respect it.
Yeah, I gave up drinking several years ago, and now I'm really just the other guy now. I'm really just the other guy.
Nothing
we
wrong
always
with
have the driver.
Yeah, I'm the designated driver.
We did a whole series on no ABV alternatives. So using things like, for those who like it nowadays, which is THC, or just using Ritual or Kentucky 75, non-ABV alternatives taste the same, and you can still have the social, like athletic brew, all that, the social aspect of it. There's no shame in it. I love it.
I actually built a whole. So I took the idea of what goes into a Negroni and built fake ingredients out of it, and then built a fake Negroni with all things I had in the house. I was juicing fresh oranges for my wife to have fresh orange juice, so I saved all the peels and then used that and some beets to create the idea of Campari, right? Orange peels and the color of beets. I used red verjus, which is, fake red wine with baking spices and touches of vanilla and just a touch of sugar to create fake vermouth, right? The idea of fortifying wine, red wine, and spicing it in that way. And then because I'm me and I have all these things back here, I actually have things like gentian root and orris root and actual juniper and all those things, and I boiled that with some herbs as well. Yeah, I have all kinds of crap back here. It's ridiculous. Like I said, my wife hates me.
We gotta talk. You gotta send us a shopping list.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd. Oh wait, do I have pine needles? Yes, I do. What do you mean you have pine needles? I have 3 different kinds.
You never know. Yeah, you never know.
But all that to me, again, like just saying the 3 different kinds of pine needles, right, or whatever vanilla is, harkens to remembering what things taste like, smell like a good memory. To have a good palate is to have a good memory. So, like, do you know what vanilla tastes like? What do you think of when you hear vanilla? Are you thinking of Turkey Hill French vanilla ice cream? Are you thinking of the vanilla that was added into a pancake? Are you thinking of vanilla extract? Are you thinking of a fresh vanilla bean cut? Are you thinking of the outside of a vanilla bean? Are you thinking of the infusion of vanilla into another simple syrup? Not thinking of any of those things.
I was thinking of chocolate. Right. I was thinking of chocolate.
But that's the idea, right? So, like, how are those? What are those flavors all actually about? And then how do they actually taste? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Then, like, getting into the depth of, when somebody says vanilla, what does that mean? It's not just the content of vanillin; it is a million other things.
Right. What does anything mean, really?
I don't know, man.
Wait, look, we have not enough drinks for me to start going down this pathway. That is an after dark episode, and we're not there yet.
Not quite. It's still the East Coast. We're okay out here. Yeah.
We're still fine. We're still fine. 2 hours from now, hit me up, because that's my midnight now. So the question I like to ask everyone in the service industry, because I just think it's interesting, and for that context, if you can give us why, is what's your deathbed cocktail? Is the first part of the question.
Yeah, deathbed cocktail.
This means like the last one you would drink on your deathbed, the one you like the most, essentially.
Like to have
on your way out.
I think this is what I would build.
Mine is chocolate milk, simple.
It's easy.
That's actually, I love that. Like chocolate's great.
Nestle Quick strawberry flavor,
stirred, not shaken.
I think if I was to build it, it's probably in Manhattan. It will be something closer to BD4, which I just had posted that video for. But the Spirit itself would be my favorite bourbon I've ever had, which is Parker's Heritage 27. Would be the base in it. It would have almost certainly Antigua Carpano in it, because that was like the vermouth that changed my mind about cocktail making. But that's another story from another time.
Sure.
That I was like, whoa, I didn't know it could be this, because I've been drinking Cinzano and M&R for so long. I was just like, I didn't know that it could be this other thing. And then that sort of like launched me into that. I would almost certainly have Fees Brothers Whiskey Barrel Bitters on the back end. Okay. I might cut in some Cherry Hearing as the other part of the sweetener. And there would certainly be some sort of little touch of either vanilla or cinnamon in it to represent some of my wife's favorite flavors as we were going out, because there's always cinnamon or vanilla around because of her. She loves cinnamon and stuff. So that sounded like a really long way to say it would be a dope ass Manhattan.
There's no wrong with it, man. I love that. I love the fact that also you want to make it yourself.
You love that I'm building this for myself.
Yeah, because I never once put that nuance in there. I just said, what is? It could be a cocktail you had in a Las Vegas bar one time, but
I designed it. Go get that Parker's Heritage. Open that $6,000 bottle of bourbon for me.
It's my deathbed, Dan.
That's my deathbed. I can have whatever the fuck I want. Hand it to me. It's true. You can have whatever you want. All right. So I don't know if this is going to be the same answer. That what is your Mona Lisa or your proudest cocktail? the cocktail.
Oh, very cool.
I made a really dope chocolate milk one time.
Wait, was it Nesquik or did you use like a different chocolate
Because here's the trick. You use chocolate milk and chocolate to make chocolatier milk.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It's like a double chocolate.
Double down
milk.
on the chocolate.
Yep. Two times.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
And then infuse the whole thing with Cocoa Puffs.
And a foam. A nice, rich, thick foam.
Tune in for foam with us. Bourbon and BS. Wait. Chocolate milk and Cocoa Puffs. We're not doing this. I'm not going down this path.
I can't.
Mona Lisa.
I think I'm going to say I worked for this Austrian chef, and there's a couple things I really loved doing for the Austrian chef. I did a drink I called Lindsay. I built the whole idea around a dessert of his. Worked for this Austrian chef. He was really famous for a lot of his desserts, especially Linzer Tort, which he made in-house, right? Like right down to making the jam and the filling and all the stuff that goes inside a Linzer Tort, right? Basically, a Linzer Tort is pastry, red berry jam filling of some sort, baking spices, nuts. Boom, right? You basically have a Linzer Tort, right? So I took that idea and I created an old fashioned out of it, right? Old fashioned, simple ingredients, right? Spirit, sugar, bitters, water, right? So the idea of using bourbon as the base, which at the time I was using, I used Garrison's for the competition, but I originally designed it with Bardstown Fusion Series, Fusion 4. Okay. In it, which was awesome. One of my favorites. Fusion Series doesn't even exist anymore, but that was the original base in that cocktail. And then I designed the red berry syrup to represent all the red berries. And what I did was I pushed raspberries through a cherry syrup that I built. So I basically built a simple syrup, but out of cherry juice instead of water, tart cherry juice to begin. And then I pushed fresh raspberries through the whole thing, through the chinois when I was draining it. As they had been cooked into it. In addition, it had like 17 or so other ingredients mixed in, including like cassis and some baking spices and some orange peels and lemon peel and a couple other things to like sort of create some of the back end that I needed and wanted. And I went through 7 different versions of it before I settled on one. Like we said, there's a lot to be done in the kitchen when you want to do these things, but do them really well. Yeah. So I created this thing to represent the exact flavor of the jam that was in his Linzer Tort. That was the freaking idea here, right? Like I'm trying to recreate his dessert as a drink. And then I was like, well, how am I going to like bitter this back end and represent these nuts in this way? Originally, I wanted to do some sort of nut cluster, like with chocolate or something as a garnish, and I decided against it and ended up using Fee's almond bitters and Fee's whiskey barrel bitters, which have so much more cinnamon and clove to them, and the almond creating the nuts. And I used those 2 dashes as the idea here, where we have the hint of nuts, the beautiful spices from the whiskey barrel bitters. This super rich and delightful red color and flavor from the pushed red raspberry cherry syrup, the beautiful bourbon base. It just needed a perfect garnish. And I got the pastry department to cut Linzer cookies for me out of almond flour that they were already making. So the pastry department, they were rolling out 6-inch cookies and like just cutting them beautifully and powder sugar them. And we were garnishing this cocktail with a cookie that I had never done before. So the idea of a dessert then becoming the first thing that someone was ordering when they were coming in, like it all came out of this dessert that he did. And it has this beautiful story about the history of the restaurant and where he comes from and outside of Linz and, like these real Austrian things, working for this Austrian chef. The things have to fit, man. Like they have to be authentic. They have to be real. They have to fit into the thing we're trying to do here. What gives it purpose? Like what makes it special, right? Why is it here, right? If I was building a beautiful margarita there, it doesn't make any sense, right? Why are you using tequila in this Austrian place? Is there local tequila there? No, it doesn't come from there. Just like that, those sorts of things. But I can build a bourbon drink out of there because we're in the States and I am still representing us and where we come from, the native spirit of the United States, bourbon, and I'm representing this culture that I'm part of in this specific space in this restaurant. So I think for me that really just was a huge culmination of a whole bunch of different thought processes and things all together. I ended up using that cocktail with Garrison Brothers to win their cocktail competition, which changed my life, enabled me to get the money to buy the ring, to be married, and all that stuff. So very, very cool moment of that cocktail sort of changing my life. And I think that speaks into that Mona Lisa sort of thing.
And if you take a look at our Instagram, the signature series on the Lindsay will be posted. I don't know when this episode comes out, but it's going to be posted at the very end of April, the month that we're in right now. And then we'll also be following that up at some time with the build of the actual syrup and the cookies. We, a little while ago, Albert built the syrup at his other apartment, and his wife made the cookies.
She did.
So, and I was there. I filmed a bunch of stuff there. So I'm putting together a little segment on that as well. So stay tuned to the Instagram and YouTube, and you'll see all about the Lindsay as well.
I'm excited to see that, and I'm going to share it immitely. So just like
Thank you.
Pirate everything that I got. I'm going to rip everything I can from your pages.
Hey, listen, man, that's the way it is right now. Right click save.
Teamwork makes the dream work, brother.
Make it happen.
Prop up those ships. Hey guys, check out these people on this, and just post it on the top of my reel.
Check out Spirit for Spirits on my account.
No, I don't want to do the thing where like the video's playing right next to me. I'm just pointing at it. I'm not doing that. I was like, hey, I could show you how to make this syrup, or I can and just point there. Like, I guess
I would love that. That's a syrup.
That is very funny.
Yeah. That's the plan. Don't play around. You'll find out.
We are on TikTok if you want to do some fun stitches or whatever. We're on TikTok too.
Don't play around. We will do that
find us there
soon.
Find us on TikTok.
All right. And last but not least, you've mentioned your lovely wife, so I assume this cocktail is going to go out to her. What would be the drink you make the person you care about the most? And it could be chocolate milk for Dave.
I would make
chocolate milk for yourself.
I would probably do a hot chocolate for my mom. Make a hot chocolate for my mom.
Fucking love that.
But basically, what I would do is just make chocolate milk and then heat it up.
And I will tell you, she's a sweet lady.
Cheers.
She's a sweet lady.
Does she like hot chocolate for real, or would it be funny? Because like my mom,
sure. Oh yeah, no, my mom would love it.
My mom would love just a good strong coffee, which is the weirdest thing. Like it could be 9 p.m. at night. I want coffee.
Yeah, not my mom. No, she would do the chocolate milk.
She would do the chocolate milk.
Yeah, my mom's she's like a no caffeine after noon type.
I'm no caffeine after a certain time, and she's just like, no, it's fine. Just a little bit of coffee right now at 10 p.m. Whatever. Yeah. But Alby?
Let me see. Well, for my wife, big Manhattan drinker also.
It's going to have cherry hearing in it. Spoiler alert.
Really?
She loves the cherries, man. She loves it.
That's why I like it. That's why I'm laughing.
She loves the cinnamon. She loves the cherries. It would probably be that exact Manhattan that I put on my deathbed.
So both of you just have
cherry hearing in it.
He would freaking love that.
You'd make two. One for you. I'm out. One for her.
He would absolutely love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I've made an awful lot of Manhattans for my wife over the years. It was the official cocktail at our wedding as well, which was very cool. It was of course, what I should have done was hire bartenders myself that the catering company then would have had to deal with, but we just dealt with whoever was there, and I stocked their full bar, and I put out all the jiggers and the tools and the whole thing. And when I came downstairs later after whatever, I came to the bar and all the stuff was tucked away in a box. And they're just pouring right out of the bottle into glasses and stuff. And I'm like, freaking losing my mind. But that's the thing. Yeah, it would definitely be a Manhattan at the end of the day for my amazing and beautiful wife. It would be a little touch on the softer side. It would be a bourbon base, not a rye, and it would certainly have some sort of cinnamon garnish. You know what I might do? I might actually just toast a piece of cinnamon and lay it on top, because that would just hit her just right, I think.
Awesome.
There you go.
Yeah. Just a funny story. I love that, first of all. But funny story, at a friend's wedding, she asked me what cocktails I would recommend, and I gave him a list and all that stuff because I'm like the resident drunk. So I told her prickly pear margarita, and I gave her ingredients, and I said, but it has to be fresh lime juice. Please don't use any of that store-bought random shit because it doesn't taste like crud. She's like, is it really that important? I was like, yes, it really is. It's your special day. Do what you want. I can't tell you how to live, but it would taste like trash. She's like, this would be fresh. And when I'm her man of honor, I was on her side of the wedding. I'm seeing the caterers pop up with the jugs of lime juice. I was like, what the mother? I said nothing, but I went up to my friend who's the chef. I was like, do you see this shit? The audacity. He's like, shut up. We're at a wedding. Have fun.
The best You're lucky they didn't just take a whole bunch of lemons and color them green with Sharpies.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's like, it's a catering company. They don't give a fuck. They're just gonna make the drinks. I was like,
Zero things to care about.
fair enough.
Yeah, it was right. It was great, and I gave away a whole bunch of bottles to the whole team anyway because
Nice.
I
That's dope. That's
had
awesome.
lots of money.
Albie, if you need an address of old shit, let me know.
I mean, you know. I made a lot of friends over the years, man. When the wedding came, people were like, take some of this for your wedding, take some of that for your wedding. And I'm like, what am I going to do with all of this Remy Cointreau product? My very good friend at Remy gave me some really great stuff at her storage unit and just, my amazing wife. I was like, why don't we do a cognac version of a Negroni, babe? Just grab one of those cognacs up there. So she makes this drink and the thing, and I like sip it. And I'm like, what cognac did you use? She's like, I don't know, that weird shaped bottle. And I'm like, oh no.
The really, really, really expensive cognac.
It was a Remy XO Negroni.
Oh boy.
That's right.
Yeah, it was a delight.
Drink.
$60 cocktail. No wonder it was a delight.
Quality drink. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing I think, which is really great. I get to spoil myself at home, and I get to spoil people when they come over, and I have some really cool stuff. And that's part of the name of the game for me is like having the stuff that I think is awesome and interesting and fun. The way when we do a video for whatever Irish Whiskey Day, I'm like, well, I have this really cool thing I got from Tullamore Dew. I got this really cool thing that that's the fun of it for me.
Yeah, and to be honest, I joke about that, like, oh my god, the expensive bottle. It's meant to be drank, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Dave Pickerel told me this great thing once. And what a full circle moment to come back to Dave in this cool thing. I guess I had a bottle of Whistle Pig Boss Hog 3, which I guess is Spirit of Maud. It was either 3 or 5. Anyway, he gives me the bottle, and I'm like, great. He like puts his Herbie Hancock on the side for me, whatever. And I said, great. Now I can never drink it. And he goes, no, first of all, the spirit inside is still just fine. The sink will not seep through the glass, I promise. It's just a little joke, and I thought it was great. And he said, well, he's like, well, what do you think, like, the day you're waiting for a special occasion to open it or something like that? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Was there an occasion special enough? And he just said Tuesday night. And I said, what do you mean Tuesday night? And he said, isn't the occasion opening the bottle? And I just thought that was brilliant. And I'm just like, I've taken that with me. Dude, so isn't the occasion opening the bottle? Yeah, that's the occasion. So just do it on a random fucking Tuesday and be like, dude, the day I opened this was so cool. Aaron Judge was 3 for 4. He had 2 homers. I had a couple dope whiskeys. It was Tuesday in April, and it was awesome. You know what I mean? Just like, I love it. I love that. Great idea.
I love that. I love that premise because there's so many people who keep Dusties on the shelf that they never open. And at the end of the day, like even the purpose of the show was to emulate that feeling of being in the backyard with your friends, sharing some spirits, bullshitting, having some stories, and hanging out, and just being in that moment and expressing yourselves and just being right? And just
man.
So it's one of those things where that bottle is a catalyst for a great memory. I'm not going to remember any times I started with I had a salad. I'm not going to remember any of those times, but you sure as hell can pour it up, share it with someone you care about, and that's value enough. So I like that.
That's the game. Open it up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, guys, as we close out, where can people find you? I know that we've talked about your links, but just so people closing out.
Sorry. You can go to spiritforspirits.com. That's our website. You can check us out there. You can go to YouTube and subscribe at Spirit for Spirits. You can go to Instagram at Spirit for Spirits and follow us there as well. YouTube, Instagram, and spiritforspirits.com. And then, of course, like I said, we do have a TikTok as well. I try to keep up on the TikTok, but I'm a little older than the TikTok generation, so I do my best on TikTok.
Yeah, completely fair. Albie, any closing words before we?
I don't know what TikTok is.
I handle all the social media. I handle all the social media stuff. That's my department.
He's like, "What's the TikTok?"
Is that a new bourbon? I'm not. Does Rabbit Hole make that? That sounds like something Rabbit Hole make.
Rabbit Hole would make that, wouldn't it?
Right, yeah, TikTok, it would have like a picture of Alice on it and the rabbit hole and the clock. It's time. Like, I'm late.
I feel like we could. You're onto something there, guys.
There you go.
All right. So as we close out, Albie, anything before we go?
No, man, I appreciate you so much. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming around. Everybody, reach out, do the thing. listen to the podcast and check out the show. We appreciate you being here.
Of course, man. It's tons of fun to get to know you guys and everything that you're doing. And I think it's super unique. It's going to be a lot of fun. It makes sense. And the fact that it didn't happen before is crazy to me. So keep doing what you guys are doing. And once again, I said it, the tenacity to like have this idea before the pandemic and to still push through, see this project through to fruition. Like a round of applause for that, and cheers to you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
Of course, little golf club. Little snaps because, city.
We do all the snaps. It's a restaurant thing. We just do the snaps when somebody does something good. Yeah.
Or pour up some Malort if it's someone you don't like, or pour up some, what is it, Fernet
Bronca. Yeah.
Bronca. So guys, if you like everything we're doing at the show, follow us at Bourbon_and_BS. We are doing a soft relaunch in June. I'm going to reveal the name as we get closer because people don't love the curse words and the algorithms keep pushing me down. So as more sponsors try to hit me up, they like a name that's a little bit more open. So we'll talk about it later. It's going to be a little teaser. Make sure that you guys like, subscribe, follow us. We are on TikTok where we put drink recipes, stupid little funny reels about my day drinking and having an office job that allows me to have alcohol in the background. Mind your business. They don't know. Teams can't alcohol test me. Can't breathalyzer.
Not yet. Why are you trying to wish that into the world? What are you doing?
Yeah, no one can do that. Like, can you breathe into this before you start the meeting? God damn it. I did this, didn't I? But like, subscribe, share, give a 5-star review. If you don't like the show, give a 5-star review and tell me why you don't like the show, because that's the only reason I'm going to take you serious. But of course, all jokes aside, guys, keep being good to each other. Share something with a good friend, and make sure you follow Spirit for Spirits, as I'm probably going to steal some of their stuff and put it in my TikToks anyway. So take care, guys. Be safe. Bye. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by Burn Termite and Pest Control. I first met Joe Byrne on Full Frontal Nerdy Show and decided to give his company a try. They have been the best pest service I've ever had. From flexible scheduling, attention to detail, fair pricing, and everything you love about a small business, I highly recommend Joe Byrne and Burn Termite and Pest Control. It's a family-owned and operated business with over 30 years of experience in termite and pest. You can reach Burn Termite and Pest Control at 321-297-7985. Once again, 321-297-7985. And let them know Bourbon and Bullshit sent you. Thanks, guys. See you next time.